a bit hazy, checking the forecast, things looking crazy. A storm on the horizon, the pressure is low. Gotta get moving, put on a show. The news is all buzzing, state of alert, but we've got a plan, we're ready to work. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. See a little fire or a rising flood, we're a well-oiled machine, we're running in the mud. From the city hall meetings to the rescue teams, turning worst case scenarios into hopeful dreams. We're training the people, we're stocking the gear, we're the team you can count on when trouble is near. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. It's more than a job, it's a calling, you see. Prepared for the present and what's yet to be. Every second counts, we're ready to react for our communities. We're making an impact. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. Yeah, we're picking you up, we're ready to go. EMA, let's get this show on the road.
Let's do this thing. Let's turn it upside down and over. Let's do it right now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron Tyler. I'm the president of Emergency Management Associates. We're on the air here for you. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Welcome to our program tonight, guys. We're glad to have you here. Now, we are going to talk about Cascadia primarily tonight. Why? Because information has changed, and those of you that live in the Cascadia subduction zone area, meaning Washington and Oregon, and also into Northern California, you also need to be aware of what's going on. Now, this earthquake is not just going to hit in Washington and Oregon. This earthquake is going to be felt all the way up into Alaska and all the way down to the Mexican border, if not further. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But what we are talking about is very important. Very important. The Cascadia earthquake is going to hit off the coast of Seattle, Washington, and Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Going to hit off the coast between the Cascadia subduction zone that runs along the coast of British Columbia, Canada, all the way down to Northern California, and the Juan de Fuca Fault further out to the west. You need to be aware of this. This is where it's going to hit. Okay? Scientists have almost imperceptibly determined that it's going to hit here. Okay? Yes, for some time, some people question it, but scientists have determined that's where it's going to hit. This is it. This is exactly it. Now, before I go on, please, guys, if you're subscribed to this channel, great. Make sure you are still subscribed. If If you're new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. When you do so, click on that little bell icon right next to the subscription button. Click on it. That will get you notified when we come on the air. That's very important as well. Also, please just don't skip in here and skip back out, because it doesn't affect you. It will affect someone you know, or maybe even members of your own family. So don't just come in here and skip back out. Stay here for a while, find out the information we have for you, and you're going to find out it's going to be pertinent to you. Okay? Stay here for a while. It's very important. The numbers of people watching this program are also affected by how long you watch it as well. YouTube uses all kinds of analytics to put in the program to let anybody, whether they're going to decide whether anybody else on YouTube is going to see it. They look at the amount of people that are watching our program. They look at the amount of time you're watching the program. They're looking at the number of thumbs up you give us, so please give us a thumbs up. And also they look at comments. After this program is over, there's a comment section directly below the video today. You can leave us positive comments, guys. We'd appreciate it. YouTube takes all of this into consideration, whether or not they're going to let anybody else on YouTube see it. Guys, YouTube has unsubscribed over 20 people in the last month. They've unsubscribed over 20 people in the last month. So please, guys, please subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate it. Also, we'd appreciate it if you would also help support this channel, either by super chats here while we're on the program, or down on the bottom of your screen here, you're seeing our PayPal locations going across the bottom of your screen. You can go there and leave us a donation also to help support this program. Also, couple other things. Below the PayPal here, you're going to also see our EMA Gmail account, RLT, NSPD, EMA, at gmail.com. You can email us information. Email us questions. Email us comments. Things you might like to see on this program. Tell us about it. We'd like to hear from you. Also, right here you see our postal address scrolling across the bottom of your screen. 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina, zip code is 28655. You can write us there. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us how you are preparing for whatever happens, whatever emergency or disaster that's going to happen. It's going to happen in your area, guaranteed. Everybody here is going to see an emergency or disaster in your lifetime. You're going to want to know how you're going to prepare for it. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight as well. How are you going to do for this Cascadia earthquake? What are you going to do about it? You need to be aware of it. We're going to talk about that tonight. So tell us how you're doing. Tell us how you're preparing for any major emergency or disaster in your life. Also, inside that letter, you can stick a donation, either cash or check, inside your letter and send it to us as well. You can also send us a card. Both of us here love to see cards. Inside the card, you can also stick a check or cash inside the card and send it to us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Please do that. Please do that. We'd appreciate it. Now, as I've shown you, the Cascadia subduction zone is important. Very important. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you this. We've talked about the Cascadia subduction zone for the last 6 years. 6 years. All the volcanic processes that will release the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake. These processes have been underway for over 6 years now. Over 6 years. Now, this is a very bold statement to make. If any lives are to be saved by forecasting the Cascadia earthquake within a relatively tight time frame, we need to start taking planning actions now to prepare ourselves to get through the quake and come out the other side of it. This quake is going to be the largest earthquake anybody's ever seen. The largest earthquake anybody's ever seen. This is important information. Now, how is the Cascadia earthquake going to be released? I'm going to give you a short summary here. We're going to talk about this. The Cascadia fault zone is held in place by only friction. Friction, guys. Friction. Okay? All the tectonic plates, all the faults are held together by friction. All the gunk and grime down there, all the sand, all the rock, all the biological materials down there. It's holding the plates and holding the faults in place. Now, what happens? What happens? Whenever we see a large amount of solar activity, it can be guaranteed that that solar activity will have an effect on Earth and every other planet within the solar system. Whenever we have a CME, whether it is a M-class flare, an SRR-class flare, or the large X-class X.2 like we saw last Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday we had a X.2 class flare released from the sun. Right away, within a matter of hours, like 4 hours, the X-ray radiation already penetrated Earth's atmosphere. 2 to 3 days after the flare hits, then comes the plasma radiation. The plasma radiation hits the magnetosphere. Right now, our magnetosphere is not what it used to be. It has been marginalized. That plasma radiation goes through the magnetosphere and through our atmosphere. It used to be that the magnetosphere would calm down any solar flares or even stop solar flares or any other asteroids or anything else that's trying to penetrate Earth's atmosphere. That's not quite the case today. When that plasma radiation goes through our magnetosphere and into our atmosphere, it heats up the atmosphere. Now, if planes are flying through the atmosphere, upwards of 30,000 feet high, passengers in that plane and all the pilots and stewardesses or stewards are also affected by the radiation. They get a healthy dose of plasma radiation. That's not good. That's not good at all. Meanwhile, those of us who are on the surface of the Earth also have and are exposed to plasma radiation. It alters our minds, it alters the way we think, it alters our bodies as well. Trish Killian just sent out 5 Emergency Management Associates memberships to those of you who are watching our program today. Trish Killian just gave Miss Jackson C1 or C1258, Sign Chick, Delia Jones, Menacing Muskrat, and Space Potato memberships to our program here. Emergency Management Associates memberships to our program. I'm going to try to hold membership meetings at least once a week, probably towards the end of this week, either Thursday or Friday during the mornings. We're going to have a membership meeting this week, so be prepared for that. We also have other things we're planning on doing to enhance people's memberships here. So everyone, please subscribe to our program and also join here as members of our program. Those of you who are not members, down below this video today in the top of the program description, you're going to see a link that says join as a member. Click on that. There are instructions to follow to join us as a member of our program. We'd appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about with plasma radiation. When that plasma radiation hits the Earth, it affects our bodies, it affects our minds, it affects every living thing, including plants on this Earth. Last summer, we had one heck of an amazing summer with plasma radiation being shot out from the sun. Huge solar flares, even an M-class 9 solar flare, largest solar flare that we could have yet. Those solar flares burned my vegetable plants that I had growing on my patio. I had tomatoes, I had lettuce, I had onions, I had squash, I had pumpkins, I had peas. The leaves of all those plants were burned as a result of plasma radiation. What else happens? When the plasma radiation hits the surface of the Earth, All that gunk and grime that's holding the plates and the faults in place, all that gunk and grime, the dirt, the sand, the rock, the biological material turns into a greasy, oily-like substance. When that happens, it allows the plates and the faults to more freely move like this, causing earthquakes. Causes more and more earthquakes. That's what's happened. It's going to happen again this year. As of the end of last week, we got hit with 2x2 class flares. 2x2 class flares. That's pretty bad. Back to back. Those solar flares resulted in strong earthquakes. 6.0, 6.9 earthquakes. That happens. Solar flares can also result in large major earthquakes. 5.0 large, the 5.9, 6.0, 6.9, strong to very strong, and 7+ magnitude of earthquakes are major earthquakes. That's what happens. All that gunk and grime that's holding those plates in place turns into an oily, greasy-like substance that allows those tectonic plates and also the faults to more freely move like this, causing earthquakes. This happens. This happens. We verified it over the years. Okay? Now, why am I talking about it now? Why am I talking about it now? The Cascadia fault. The Cascadia subduction zone is a fault. The Juan de Fuca plate is also fault out here. Let me put up the Juan de Fuca plate as well here. You can't see that. No, sorry. Right here. Off the coast west of the Cascadia subduction zone, you see a zigzag-like fault coming from south of Haida Gwaii, Canada, Haida Gwaii Island in Canada, north of Vancouver Island. The Cascadia fault zone goes up there as well, but the Juan de Fuca fault also goes there. Both plates are subducting underneath the Earth. Both plates are subducting underneath the North American continent. When this fault moves, I'm going to talk about this specifically in a few minutes. When it moves, it's going to cause major problems. Major problems. Okay? I'm not trying to be anything but more frank here. I want to be more frank. The location of the friction is called the Cascadia subduction zone and the Juan de Fuca fault. This zone under the Cascadia chain of volcanic mounts, in the Cascade Mountains, there is an undersea fracture zone just west of the coast of Washington and Oregon and the Northern California coast. Undersea fracture zone, a fault zone. The Pacific plate is all subducting under the California as well. Once that stress is built up over hundreds of years, it seeks to be released. That pressure seeks to be released. We're going to talk about this pressure because I've done more research. The pressures increase as well. Once that stress is built up over hundreds of years, it seeks to be released. The most effective way of reducing friction along the plate boundary is to melt it away at multiple points. I just talked about how that happens. The solar flares, primarily. The second way it happens is when we have planetary alignments. When we have planetary alignments out in space, those planetary alignments cause electromagnetic friction, electromagnetic energy, electricity. When that electromagnetic electricity hits the Earth, it also heats up the Earth's atmosphere. It also heats up the plates and the faults, causing earthquakes. Electromagnetic radiation heats up the plates and faults, causing earthquakes. Electromagnetic radiation also affects all living matter on the face of the earth, all plants, all animals, and all humans on the face of this earth. It's huge. It's huge and it's significant. Okay? This is what is occurring now. We have compiled evidence over years now to prove what is going on, and this evidence is verifiable. 4 years ago, we originally thought that the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake could be forecast within a very short time period, months. We were wrong. We were wrong. We have discovered that there is an intrinsic relationship between the activity of the volcanic mountains of British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. There's an intrinsic relationship between what is going on at the volcanoes in British Columbia, Canada, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. And the intrinsic value or the relationship is also going to cause the release of the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake. It's going to cause the release of the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. I have referred to it sometimes as a CMTE, Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake, CMTE. Okay? 2 or more magnitude 4 or large earthquakes within a very short time period, a week or less, and or an eruption at least one of the Cascade Mountain volcanoes is going to be what we're going to see before the Cascadia earthquake hits. A magnitude 4 or larger earthquake, or multiple 4 or larger earthquakes within a very short time period, a week or less, or an eruption of at least one of the Cascade Mountain volcanoes. The speed of the process of the release of the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake is not known. Careful study over a period of time is going to provide more data that will assist us in understanding the rate of the development of the earthquake. Let's talk about the research. Beginning the search for a precursor activity that will happen before the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake hits. The search for this precursor activity began about 5 years ago at the Seismic volcano in British Columbia. The Seismic volcano in British Columbia. This is where it began. Guys, I'm serious about this. I'm serious as a heart attack. Actually, this is one of the slides I want to show you. You see 2 volcanic mounts going up into Vancouver, British Columbia. 2 volcanic mounts. One of them is Mount Garibaldi. The other is Seismic volcano. Let's talk about Seismic volcano for a minute. Okay? The Seismic volcanic cone in British Columbia, Canada began erupting near or during the time of the 1700 time period, January 1700, before or at the time that the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake hit, January 1700. It has been suggested that the Seismic eruption was triggered by the Cascadia earthquake of 26 January 1700. This was by far the most powerful earthquake during the last 1,000 years in the Pacific Northwest. By far the most powerful earthquake that has hit the Pacific Northwest in the last 1,000 years. Okay? When it happened, a boat captain, a single mariner off the coast of Washington, wrote in his logbook of his ship. He stated that either Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak was erupting during the time of the earthquake. Either Glacier Peak or Mount Rainier was erupting at the time of the earthquake. These are clues as to a connection between volcanic activity and the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake. Now, I understand there's not much to go on. I needed more information, substantial more information, more data. We searched for it, we found it. The summary of added data is what we're going to talk about right now. The process is a building of pressure, the building up of pressure over hundreds of years, caused by the movements of the North American plate westward. The North American plate westward. You and I are all living, most of us are living on the North American plate here in the United States and Canada, and Mexico, and Alaska. We're all living on the Cascadia, on the North American plate. Okay? Now, this is an established outcome of plate tectonics. Plates are moving. The tectonic plates are moving. This force overcomes the friction of the plate boundary zone. This force overcomes the friction at the plate boundary zone, causing the earthquake. It begins the process of subduction. This presents initially as subduction creep. Subduction creep. When I showed you on programs over the last 5 or 6 years, when we talked about the Cascadia earthquakes, I've shown you subductions. I've shown you tremors on the tremor map. USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network don't always show all the subduction creep. They only show us a creep that they want us to see. I've tried to show you, and I showed you yesterday, more seismic energy up and down the entire coastline. Up and down the entire coastline, guys. Earthquakes all over the place. Microquakes, tremors, minor earthquakes, and 3.0, 4.0 earthquakes happen all the time up and down the entire coastline, even off the coast. We're going to talk in a few minutes about earthquakes off the coast as well. Okay? This subduction creep we're talking about, these tremors we're talking about, don't release any energy. They're not going to release any energy specific to the Cascadia earthquake. That creep, those tremors are not releasing any energy, but the tremors are evidence of energy here up and down the entire fault line, up and down the entire tectonic plate that is being captured here. The tectonic plate is capturing energy, more and more energy every day, and that energy is locked up. That energy is locked up. What I've been showing you on the seismograms, which are the computer readouts the seismograph gives us, showing the activity at the plates and the faults up and down the entire Cascadia subduction zone. I've shown you that seismic activity. Those seismic signatures are being recorded at Cascadia volcanic locations. I've shown you seismograms at all the Cascadia volcanoes. Mount Jefferson in Oregon, Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier in Washington, Glacier Peak in Washington, Mount Baker also in Washington, Mount Adams also in Washington east of Mount St. Helens, Mount Meager, Garibaldi, and Mount Sayax in British Columbia, Canada. Additionally, there's been an increase in tremors at Mount Meager in Canada. Seamount activity at 6 seamounts undersea volcanic cones off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Seamount activity, volcanic cones off the coast of Oregon and Washington. Undersea volcanoes. From mid-Vancouver Island west and north of Haida Gwaii, and all the way down to Oregon. Since the 26th of September 2019, I found a hotspot at Seismic in Canada. I found a hotspot from Seismic in Canada. The Seismic River Cone, or the Ionish volcano, is a young cinder cone with adjacent lava flows to Seismic Cone. It's a young cinder cone in the northern Calderian volcanic province in British Columbia. Mount Ediza, E-D-I-Z-Z-A, Mount Ediza in British Columbia, Canada. It is a large, complex stratovolcano, about 1 million years old, forming most recently active of a group of overlapping basaltic shield volcanoes, basaltic lava, lava dome flows. Lava dome flows have also been seen. And they even have central stratovolcanoes as well. Mount Ediza contains a 2-kilometer wide ice-filled summit caldera. 2-kilometer wide ice-filled summit caldera. How is that possible? The same thing that happens at Crater Lake in south central Oregon happened up there in Canada as well. Except in Canada, it is an ice-filled caldera. Rather than a lake like Crater Lake is, it's an ice-filled caldera. Okay? Now, this summit-filled caldera has a central summit crater and several flank vents as well. Cones where the volcano has erupted other than the summit. These cones have a crater similar to the summit, but they're further down on the side of the volcano. Okay? They're called flank vents. The volcano's lava flow ranges from basaltic to rhyolite lava. Frequent volcanic activity of the complex has been going on for about 8 million years. But the last eruptions occurred only about 1,000 years ago. Mount Shasta, Mount Lassen, Sutter Buttes in Northern California, little known Mount Trowbridge in British Columbia, Canada, and unnamed Vancouver Island mountains with very, very clear calderas, one on top and one on the flank, have been erupting as well. Not recently, but they have erupted. Using overlapping infrared satellite imaging. I've gotten that from the College of Dupage, guys. If you want a link to the College of Dupage, right below this video today, I take down this slide I've got up. Right below this video today, in the top near the center of the program description, you're going to find a link to the College of Dupage. There you can obtain satellite imagery, infrared imagery as well, what is going on not just in the weather, but what is going on shore. You'll find red zones, heat zones, where lava is right, or magma is right beneath the surface, heating up the surface of the earth. That's what happens. Whenever a volcano lights up, that zone turns awful red. Red zone, guys. That means heat, massive heat. But I've been using overlapping infrared satellite images available from the College of Dupage that I undertook over 6 years ago. I've been following it up almost every week. Several times a week, several times every week. I count meticulously slow so I can find hotspots, red hotspots. Hotspots on the west coast of North America, from mid-British Columbia, Canada, to northern border of Mexico. Hotspots. I have even found a hotspot in northern Mexico at Cerro Prieto volcano. Cerro Prieto volcano is known to be inactive right now, but Why do we have hotspots then? Because every volcano we have that we know about is reactivation. It's in a process of reactivation. Now, this also includes all the coast as far east as Alberta, Montana, West Wyoming, Western Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. That's a huge area, big area indeed. Huge area. I've seen these hotspots all over all these states, literally. That means all of you that live in the western part of the United States, you need to be concerned because there is molten magma down beneath you in the crust. Molten magma down in the earth beneath you in the crust heats up. There are a total of 103 hotspots spread across that area. 6 months ago, you would be lucky to find even 10 hotspots for that same area. Mount Shasta recently had a hotspot on it, and it has had increased activity as well. More recently, I spotted 103 hotspots in British Columbia alone. 103 hotspots in British Columbia alone. Slash burns accounted for approximately 25% of the hotspots. Slash burns, that means active fires. Active fires account for 25% of the hotspots. What happened to the other 75%? Those were magma down beneath the surface. That was magma down beneath the surface, guys. British Columbia, Canada's had 17 hotspots before the 26th for comparative value. 17 hotspots before April 26th for comparative value. Why are these hotspots important? Because the majority of them relate to magmatic rise, magma rising towards the crust, magma rising through the crust up near the volcanoes or right beneath where we're walking on. Crustal heating. Crustal heating is what we're talking about. A very small percentage relate to actual fires. A very small percentage relate to fires. Now, let's talk about Mammoth Mountain on the east side of Central California. Mammoth Mountain has also had recently many hotspots, swarms of earthquakes as well. Earthquakes are swarming at Mammoth Mountain and also that wonderful supervolcano to the east. Okay? I've noted an increase in the numbers of small earthquakes being reported at widespread volcanic locations across Western North America to include the Mojave Desert of Southern California. Widespread volcanic locations across Western North America, including the Mojave Desert of Southern California, to include the Coza Volcanic Field. To include the Coza Volcanic Field, and south of there, over to China Lake. Hot spots around China Lake as well. You need to understand that. There are thousands and thousands of people who live in this area. I'm giving you that information now. A lot of you might live in that area as well. Now, let's talk about this. Let's interpret the data. There is immense magma pressure that is required to commit or create an immense earthquake, such as the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake. Tremendous magma pressure underneath the crust. Magma pressure and tectonic plate pressure as well. Remember that. Magma pressure is also down there. The tectonic plate pressure, as the tectonic plates move across the earth, we're going to talk about this. That's going to cause all these earthquakes we're talking about. There's been a demonstrable increase in symptoms of immense pressure going back about 6 months. Symptoms of immense pressure going back about 6 months. The combined data that's been accumulated reveals the truth of what I'm talking about. We've shown you that. We've consistently shown you that. The moderate 4.7 earthquake just months ago is evidence that along the seismic creep we witnessed in the same time period bigger earthquakes, large earthquakes. Most of the time at the volcanoes we'll see a 3.0, 3.2, 3.3 earthquake. We just got through seeing a 4.7 off the coast of Canada, off the coast of British Columbia, Canada. Remember, don't forget this. Please don't forget this. December 24th, 2019, we had four 7.0 earthquakes off the northwest coast of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. 4 7.0 earthquakes off the coast of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. 4 of them. They all happened on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve after 10 p.m. One of my colleagues that I used to have on this program, and I've talked to since, we were praying that night, praying almost unceasingly, asking the Lord to stop the Cascadia quake. We thought for sure that those 4 7.0 earthquakes might be the cause of the Cascadia earthquake. Certainly they were large enough. They were major earthquakes in the Cascadia subduction zone. Yes, they were. They were in the Cascadia subduction zone region, right there on the Cascadia subduction zone. They could have triggered the entire subduction zone into a MegaThrust earthquake. Fortunately, that did not happen. We were praying that the Lord would stop that earthquake from happening. He did. I am pretty much convinced that that Cascadia earthquake could have happened that night. What do you think would have happened on Christmas Eve? If that Christmas Eve, the Cascadia 9.0, 10.0 earthquake would have been triggered. Tens of thousands of people would have been unalived. Tens of thousands of people would have been unalived. Tens of thousands of people would have been injured. Homes destroyed, either through the shaking or the subsequent tsunami. We're going to talk about that more a little bit later. That would have happened. It did not happen. I'm convinced that people were seeing that and were praying, please, Lord, don't let that happen. Now, I'm going to go back to the seismic creep. We've shown you in recent past, even as late as last week, we show you tremors that the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have admitted to seeing and showing us. But I've also showed you numerous seismograms up and down the entire coastline of other earthquakes, not just tremors, not just minor earthquakes, but 3.0 and large earthquakes up and down the entire coastline. They've happened. They've happened. We witness it every week, every day of every week. Now, the melting of the friction points caused by the solar flares and electromagnetic radiation that penetrates the Earth causes these earthquakes. The melting of the friction points are restraining the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake from happening. And the melting is occurring right now as we speak. The melting of those friction points, all that gunk and grime, all the dirt, all the mud, all the rock, all the biological material that turns into an oily, greasy-like substance is in turn happening as we speak. Okay? The subduction-specific signatures prove this. This melting extends laterally over time along the plate boundaries. The melting extends laterally over time along the plate boundaries. Laterally, guys, meaning the plates are held together by friction, and the melting is occurring right now. Okay? This is all significant. It's also significant data that shows that the area east of San Francisco and south of San Jose, California, are showing signs of volcanic instability. That area east of San Francisco Bay, south of San Jose, California, are showing signs of volcanic instability, as witnessed in the final days of October 2019, when there were earthquakes in those areas. We've seen earthquakes since then as well. San Ramon, California, all the time, and other places north and south of there as well. These have been shown to have volcanic influence. Los Banos. You may have heard us talk about Los Banos, Tres Pinos, and the Pinnacles before. The Pinnacles are south of Monterey Bay. The Pinnacles are also where we have oil and gas fracking going on. These earthquakes sometimes are seen to be small or have moderate increased seismic activity. That whole area between San Francisco Bay and the Pinnacles has had moderate to increased seismic activity even this year. We've shown that to you as well. Okay? The area between Vancouver, British Columbia and Santa Barbara, California is also showing signs of volcanism happening. This bears further study, and we're looking into this. Volcanic activity, guys. Volcanic activity. That means this entire area could come apart at the seams in the very near future. Let's talk about new information and about Oregon as well. A study was presented at the 2026 annual meeting of the Seismological Society of America that revealed that the Juan de Fuca plate beneath northern Oregon sits 5 kilometers shallower than all previous models assumed. Let's bring up the Cascadia subduction zone area here. Okay, let me show you more of Oregon here. Okay, here's some more of Oregon. The Seismological Society of North America has revealed that the Juan de Fuca plate beneath northern Oregon sits 5 kilometers closer than they thought. 5 kilometers. Basically, 2.5 miles closer to the crust of the earth you and I walk on. That raises projected peak ground shaking intensity for Portland by 9 to 17% above official estimates. Let me repeat that. The study indicates, because of the movement that we're presently seeing along the coast of Washington and Oregon, especially around Oregon, what it means is that the shaking that's going to occur when the Cascadia earthquake hits is going to be 17 or 19% stronger than what the official estimates are showing. USGS seismologists and their team also identified a previously unmapped deep sedimentary basin beneath Tillamook, Oregon, that could further amplify shaking during the Cascadia MegaThrust rupture. Could further amplify shaking during the Cascadia MegaThrust rupture. The emergency plans were built on wrong numbers. The emergency plans that we had prior to this time were built on wrong numbers. Now, I told you before, back in 2014, I was part of a disaster drill team in Spokane, Washington, where we drilled the powers that be, the police, the sheriff's departments, the fire departments, and ambulance teams. We also drilled the Army teams from our volunteer force in the Army National Guard and Army Air Team. We drilled with them as well. We also had components from Idaho, Washington, Oregon, from Utah, from Nevada, from Colorado, and Arizona, as well as Montana and Wyoming there. We had components of the National Guard and also law enforcement and fire departments from all those states that were part of that drill. Why did we do that? Why do you think we involved all these personnel? Because all these personnel would be, in part, the recovery teams after the earthquake happens. That's why we involved all these other departments and the National Guard teams, because they will be coming in to help recover the area after the earthquake happens. We started in, I believe it was August of 2014. August of 2014. I still have all the data from that drill. Before I went to the drill, I spoke to the fire chief of Seattle. I spoke to the police chief of Seattle. I told them we were coming. They only had some notice that we're coming. I asked them what they thought about the Cascadia drill and about the Cascadia earthquake. They basically said they had not been told about it. They knew little or nothing about it. That's unreal. That's unreal. It's very important. Very, very important. Just 3 years ago, Marfugel, Adam as you know him, I know him as Adam, good friend. Adam went over to Ocean Shores, Washington. He talked to the fire department, he talked to the police department, he also talked to the citizens over there in Ocean Shores. What did he find out? 2023. 2023, guys. 9 years after I was in Washington. No one in Ocean Shores, Washington knew anything about the Cascadia earthquake. No one. They had not been briefed about it. The police and fire departments that would respond to the earthquake, the aftermath of the earthquake, had no knowledge of it. That means only one thing. No knowledge of anyone, not the citizens or anyone, not any residents. No one knows anything about it. What does that mean? Most people don't have any idea that it's going to happen. That's what we talk about preparedness planning. This is exactly why we talk about emergency preparedness planning. Everybody needs to have a plan. You need to have a plan. The numbers that we had back in 2014 don't hold a stick to the numbers that are out right now. The Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake in 2014 was termed to be a 9.0 earthquake. Now, the numbers are considered to be 17 to 19 times stronger, meaning at least a 10.0 monster earthquake. 10.0 major earthquake, guys. That's what's going to hit. As I said, In 2014, I was a part of the original drill, the team that conducted the first Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake drill. Since then, we've had two additional drills, two additional Cascadia drills. The last drill was called Cascadia Rising. Cascadia Rising. As the drill was before, it was a multi-state drill, so other agencies around Oregon, Washington, that area could be a part of it, because they're also going to help come in and supplement the crews on site that are local. Everybody's going to be needed. All of you may also be needed. That's why you need to prepare and prepare wise. Prepare and prepare wise. Okay? The agencies came out from out of town, out of the state, to help out. The international and private sectors were also there. We had agencies involving the state, the sheriff's agencies, the local and police and fire departments, the tribal police, representatives of the Indian tribes in that area. International teams from Canada were also there. Why? Because British Columbia, Canada is also going to be involved in this earthquake. Vancouver Island is going to be hit by the shaking. Vancouver, British Columbia itself is going to be hit by the shaking. All of southwestern Canada is going to be hit by the shaking, possibly even as far as east as Alberta, or even parts further than that. I'll explain more about that in a minute. We had federal agencies, the FBI, FEMA, DHS was there, ATF was there. We had drug enforcement there as well. Why? Because they're also going to have to be there to help out with drugs. Not illicit drugs necessarily, but they're going to help out with other drugs that are going to have to be distributed to the populace to help recover people with their health problems. All federal agencies were represented. Everybody. I think we even had Secret Service there. It was a huge effort. Local, state, tribal, federal, private sectors were all there. We had public there as well to act as victims and as observers to the drill, offering suggestions every day on what we were doing, how we were conducting the drill. And after the drill was over, 5 days later on Saturday, we had what they call an aftermath, an afterwash. Why? Because we wanted to discuss what we did and how we did it, so the next drill we have is going to be even better. Going to be better and involving more people. Why? Because more and more people are going to have to be involved. Now, given that, the coming Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake is going to be at least a 9.0 to 10.0 magnitude earthquake. Something that the United States and most places internationally have never seen. Yes, Japan and Bali have seen it. Down on the other side of the world. I'm talking about Antarctica. They saw a 9.0 earthquake as well. Over in Turkey-Syria border region, they also saw a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake back in February 3rd, 2023. These 9.0 earthquakes happen occasionally. Fortunately, not very often. But they happen. When the Cascadia earthquake hits, there's going to be at least a 75 to 150 foot tsunami. There's going to be at least a 75 to 100 foot, maybe 150 foot tsunami hit the west coast of North America. Alaska, Canada, British Columbia, Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. What happened? January 27th, 1700. The Cascadia earthquake was on January 26th. Within 24 hours, some people believe it was 20 hours, the earthquake went all the way across the Pacific Basin to Japan. All the way across the Pacific Basin to Japan. How do we know that? Because the Japanese people kept immaculate records. They called it orphan tsunami. They called it an orphan tsunami because it was not accompanied by an earthquake. They had no idea where the earthquake had been. They did not know it happened off the Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia coastline. Had no idea, but it happened. The North American indigenous tribes also felt that earthquake. They were part of it. They thought it was caused by a whale and a great big huge raven that got in a battle. They thought it was a whale and a great big huge raven that got in a battle that caused that shaking. They didn't understand. I believe most people still don't understand when those earthquakes hit. Okay? Now, the last exercise, Cascadia Rising, took place between June 7th and June 10th, 2016. It was led by the Washington State Emergency Management Office. The Washington State Emergency Management Office. Exercise participants entered into the Emergency Command Center. They entered into the Incident Command System, what we call ICS. Why? So they could stay organized. So all participants of agencies could stay organized in post-disaster missions, post-disaster recovery. Many times, they were involving complex information sharing scenarios. Complex information sharing scenarios, such as the introduction of federal assets by the U.S. Northern Command, NORTHCOM. NORTHCOM got involved as well, the military. The request of those assets by the County Emergency Operations Center through the state of EOC to the governor calling the president, getting permission from the president to activate those military assets and activate also emergency assets to the federal government. Money to help recover. FEMA, FBI, DEA, ATF, DHS, all federal agencies are also coming from the government. The governor will call the President of the United States and request aid. The president, in turn, will inform the governor he's going to send aid, and from that point forward, aid will come from the government, it will come from the feds to help pay for what is happening and what will happen. Okay? That's how it goes. Through the Information Center, Incident Command System, we have what they call an Area Command System here as well. Through the Emergency Operations Centers, EOCs, we track those assets. We track the assets through the state EOC, the Washington Army National Guard, the state and local police, the sheriff's departments, and fire and ambulance services. Throughout the entire region, all the states that were involved, all the agencies involved, were all tracked through this state EOC, the incident command system we had set up. All these people were placed all over the area, throughout the entire area, guys. We even had, like I said, private citizens who acted as victims of the earthquake as paid observers. We paid those observers, guys. All these people were placed in strategic locations to observe a flow of mission-based information, undergraded information, and post-disaster conditions. Post-disaster conditions. We wanted the drill to be information-based and provide training for all the responders who would be participating during an actual emergency. My job was to strategically preposition and move personnel as conditions warranted and changed. Emergency plans may already be in place. We put all those plans on the table to be worked through. In the case of Oregon, emergency plans for Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and other locations were also involved here. But overall, we went through the entire drill scenario. The evacuation routes. Yes, the evacuation routes, guys. We've talked to you when we talked about preparedness planning to have evacuation routes built into your preparedness plan. Each member of your family, your businesses as well. You need to think about evacuation routes in case you need to evacuate where you're at. We thought of building codes. We analyzed building codes as well. We had the building departments throughout the entire area there as well to help us ascertain what's going to happen and what could happen when buildings fail in the earthquake region. Buildings are going to fail. Thousands, if not millions of buildings are going to fall because they were never reinforced to withstand earthquakes. Bridges are also going to fall because they also were not reinforced to withstand earthquakes. Earthquakes as big as we're going to have. Now, given the information I've already given you, the Juan de Fuca Plate sits 5 kilometers, 3 miles deeper underground than it does. 5 kilometers, 3 miles deeper. Think of that as vertical distance between sea level and the summit of a typical volcano. Between sea level and the summit of a typical volcano. Compressed in the wrong direction. Compressed in the wrong direction. That single miscalculation raises the projected shaking intensity at Portland and other areas. It's going to increase the projection of shaking intensity by huge areas. A Cascadia rupture, 9 to 17% above official estimates. 9 to 17% above official estimates, from 9.0 to 10.0 earthquake or larger. Consider that. A 9.0 to 10.0 earthquake or larger. We've talked about shaking intensity before. What we may be seeing now with the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake is at least a 10.0 plus earthquake on the moment magnitude scale that we presently use now. And there's a secondary finding as well, buried in the study, that almost no one has even reported on it yet. I found it. I understood immediately when I saw it, why it matters more than the headline number. I want to be very honest with you about what I felt when I saw it. Going through all this research that's come out, going through all this research for the first time, I was blown away. I spent many years now going through all this information. All of a sudden, this information came out this year, and I sat back in my chair going, oh my gosh. Many more people are going to be affected by the Cascadia earthquake than I thought, than anybody thought. I spent a significant time of my life working on the parameters of the Cascadia earthquake over the last 6 years. the tectonic plate tear from Vancouver Island itself. The tectonic plate tear from Vancouver Island itself. All the slow swept events, all the tremors that I've been discussing with you over the years. And recently, the fluid dynamic study from the magma beneath the surface. Unreal. Unreal. That magma is flowing through the earth. And when we have movement of the earth, whether it be on a fault or a plate, when movement happens, magma comes up from underneath and fills the void. Magma comes up through there and fills the void. That could also possibly increase the possibility of a new volcano. That could increase the possibility of a new volcano as well. You need to understand that. Now, I honestly thought that I had a solid picture of the seismic hazards that we're going to face. I was wrong. Yes, I have somewhat of a picture. Did not have a solid picture as I thought. What this new study showed me is that even people whose job it is to measure this fault and the surrounding seismic structures were working with a picture that is missing something very fundamental. Not necessarily because of negligence, because Northern Oregon is seismically quiet for the most part. It's quiet for the most part because they're not showing us information. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and USGS are not showing us the information. That's why it is thought to be quiet. It's not. It's not. I've been showing this on a weekly basis. I showed it to you in yesterday's discussion about the Cascadia earthquake and the volcanoes. They are not discussing it at all. They are not even discussing or showing us the information that we need to be seeing about these earthquakes. Earthquakes throughout the entire region. The entire region, guys. There's almost no data. I have to dig through the data. Sometimes, like I said, they erase it or delete it. You have to look for it. And even then, as I said, they erase or delete the data. I've been showing you the proof of that. I've been showing you the proof of that throughout the years. Now, when there's almost no data, the model, a gap, that gap has been set as undetected inside every emergency plan that's been written. That gap with no data is being set on emergency plans throughout the entire region for one of the most populated corridors of the Pacific Coast of North America. One of the most populated corridors of the Pacific Coast of North America, Canada and the United States included. For the agencies behind this data is incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. And because of that, the agencies themselves are not going to have the data they need to make sure we have written emergency preparedness plans to save lives. That's the bottom line. They're not going to have the data necessary to save lives. Let me give you, for instance, Portland, for example, has approximately 650,000 residents inside the city limits. Inside the city limits. Other cities and towns might be smaller, might have larger populations, for example, Seattle, the Tacoma area, up and down the entire coastline, Vancouver Island, Vancouver, British Columbia. They have larger and smaller populations. The broader metropolitan area also brings that number over 2 million people. Actually, 2.5 million people. Imagine that. a metropolitan population over 2.5 million people. Yet the agencies don't have the data to help protect everybody. Because our seismic agencies, both Washington State, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, or the federal side, the USGS, are not giving us the information we need. Every building retrofit program, houses and businesses, every building retrofit program, every evacuation timing estimate. Like I said, every evacuation timing estimate. Yes, all of us have put together estimates how long it will take to evacuate people from certain areas. That also has gone in the trash because the agencies are not giving us real data. Every infrastructure resilience calculation for that population was done with the wrong data number plugged into it. As I said, every building retrofit program, houses and businesses, every evacuation time estimate, every infrastructure estimate of resilience calculation for the population was done with the wrong numbers plugged in to the foundation of the model that had been built by all of us. We have to take a serious look at what we have looked at and get into the guts of it again. Our lives depend on it. All of our lives depend on it, guys. We have to depend on it because we need to get the information correct to save people's lives, our families' lives. It's very interesting. As I've gotten into the guts of this program, the information I'm giving you, we had 35 people, 38 people, almost 40 people watch this program a few minutes ago. That number just died to 23 and now up to 25 again. Guys, stay here. Watch this program. I'm giving you information to save your lives, lives of your friends and family. You need to know this. They need to know it as well. Share this program far and wide. Share with your family. Share with your extended family. Share with the people you know, your friends and neighbors. Show you to the people you know at your work. Talk about it with the people you know on social media. Share this program far and wide. Everybody needs to know it. I can't tell you how important it is. It's very important. We need to save lives here. Every program that we've ever done, all the evacuation timing estimates, all the retrofit programs that we've done have been put together with false information because the agencies are not being truthful with us. We need to seriously take a look at what we got our lives into. We need to take a look at the guts of this program. Lives depend on us getting this information correct. That is what this study is really about. Not a 5-kilometer, 3-mile measurement. A 5-kilometer, 3-mile area embedded into the plans that are supposed to be able to keep people safe when the fault finally moves. Unreal. The detail that concerns researchers and planners most is not just the 5-kilometer, 3-mile measurement itself. It's something else that's found directly beneath the coastal town in Oregon that almost no one else outside the region's ever heard of. That finding I wanted to talk to you about. You're going to see it as soon as I talk about it. As I show you exactly what the Cascadia did the last time it moved. 326 years ago. 326 years of silence. What it actually means? The Cascadia subduction zone stretches over 1,000 kilometers, roughly 620 miles. 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles. From British Columbia, Canada, all the way south to Northern California. from British Columbia, Canada, all the way south to Northern California. That's serious. That's serious. Okay? That means from Vancouver Island in Canada to Cape Mendocino in Northern California. It is a boundary where the Juan de Fuca Plate and the Cascadia subduction zone, a fragment of the ocean floor, slides eastward and dies beneath the North American plate, dies beneath the North American continent at approximately 40 millimeters or 1.6 inches a year. 40 millimeters or 1.6 inches a year. That's about the same growth as a fingernail. That's about the same growth as a fingernail. Now that pace seems negligible, but it's not. Let's think of this as in a bigger picture now. 40 millimeters or 1.6 inches a year compounded across 326 years. The last full rupture of this plate, the two plates, the Cascadia subduction zone and the Juan de Fuca fault, subducting underneath the North American plate. The last full rupture of the plate represents a total roughly of 13 meters or 43 feet of accumulated stress locked up along the plate interface. 13 meters or 43 feet of accumulated stress. That's huge. We've talked about this earlier. We've talked about all the earthquakes up and down the entire coastline in the past years of this program. This only means that this stress has accumulated even more, which makes the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake fault more and more dangerous. Makes it more and more dangerous. 43 feet, 13 meters of stored energy, compressed into rock against rock, just literally waiting to literally burst. Waiting to literally burst. The last time the energy was released was the night of January 26, 1700. A megathrust earthquake estimated between 9.0 and 10.0 magnitude ruptured along the entire length of the Cascadia simultaneously. The entire length of the Cascadia simultaneously. But what they're not talking about, here, I'm going to explain to you right now. And you guys need to remember this. Because when it happens, all heck is going to break loose. All heck is going to break loose. I promise you that. I promise you that. All heck will break loose. I just activated the USGS map here. I'm going to bring this down and show you the Cascadia subduction zone all the way down to the coast of Mexico. All the way down to the coast of Mexico here. You're going to want to see this. I'm going to take down our EMA banner here. I'm going to take down our webcam. I want you to see what we're showing you here. This is important. This is vitally important for your safety. The entire Cascadia subduction zone. From the south of Haida Gwaii here, this small line here is called Haida Gwaii, British Columbia, Canada. All this area here, the Cascadia subduction zone, and that zigzag fault called the Juan de Fuca fault, running south here. runs all the way south here. That zigzag fault comes down here to this other fault line called the Blanco Fracture Zone, which moves from the northwest to the southeast, closer to the Cascadia subduction zone. Then the Blanco Fracture Zone runs into the Gorda Ridge. That seemingly perpendicular line running from the Blanco Fracture Zone to the Gorda Escarpment here to the south. Then the Gorda Escarpment runs to the east here, meets up to the triple junction with the Cascadia subduction zone and the San Andres Fault here. 3 fault zones here. This is important in this discussion. Why is it important? Because all this energy that we're going to have from the Cascadia earthquake, 9.0, 10.0 energy, is also going to be felt all the way up into Alaska, because of the Cascadia subduction zone also interfaces with this other fault zone running into Alaska, which interfaces also with the Aleutian Fault. Look out. Look out. Alaska is also going to feel this earthquake. Alaska is also going to see a tsunami here. They're also going to see a tsunami. Now we take the subduction zone down to Northern California here, where it meets with the subduction zone, the Gorda Escarpment, and the San Andres Fault here. Let's talk about this. All of you who are here are going to want to know this. Back in 2023, December 23rd, 2023, Chris Goldfinger, a professor of geology at Oregon State University, guess what? He met with other scientists and geologists from across the country and geologists in California, Oregon and Washington, and other areas, other states in San Francisco that day. He addressed the entire audience and he declared that the Cascadia earthquake could trigger the San Andres Fault. Imagine that. That means, what does that mean, guys? That means that this energy, the 9 to 10.0 magnitude energy, originating up here in northern Washington, Oregon area, it'll be transferred down the San Andres Fault. Down the San Andres Fault here. Northern California. Any town or city that is over here is going to be affected by the Cascadia earthquake. By the time that energy reaches this point, these areas here, these cities, these towns, may feel 9.0, 8.0 energy. They may feel 9.0, 8.0 magnitude earthquake energy here. San Francisco Bay Area here, they're going to feel this energy as well. The San Andres Fault runs down the west side of San Francisco Bay. We've talked about all the other earthquake faults around the San Francisco area. There are also other ancillary faults as well. Imagine when this kind of energy hits there. All these faults throughout this area are going to be affected. Not just San Francisco itself, Oakland, Alameda, out east, where? All over San Francisco Bay Area, the entire region, guys. Vallejo, Napa, California, San Ramon, down south to Antioch, East Antioch here, down here to Fremont, California. All areas here, all cities and towns. San Jose is going to be affected as well. Notice here, the San Andreas Fault, once it gets over here west of San Francisco Bay, is where the San Andreas Fault starts to go further inland. San Jose, all the cities all throughout this area can also be affected. This also is where the Calaveras and this main fault line here. 3 different main fault lines here, guys. 3 different main fault lines here are going to be activated by the Cascadia earthquake through the San Andreas Fault here. They come together over here, just east of Monterey Bay, further over here south of Monterey Bay here, near Alum Rock, California. The pinnacles here, right here. This earthquake is Ridgemont, California, on the San Andreas Fault. Ridgemont is going to be affected. Monterey Bay area is going to be affected. Anybody live in that area? Further south here, go over here, New Hydra, California. For out here southeast, Coalinga, California. Also here on the San Andreas, we have the earthquake capital California. Unreal. All this area is going to be affected as well. You see this red earthquake here? This is Nacimiento, California. 2.2 magnitude earthquake here just happened. They're also going to see this earthquake. No matter what fault you're on, no matter what fault you were living on, those faults are going to be activated by this major shaking. By the time the seismic energy comes down here on the San Andreas, it may reach magnitude of 7.0 or maybe more. We don't know how far it's going to take to deactivate some of the energy, but it's going to be major energy, guys. It's going to be major energy here. Then it's going to go further south here along the San Andreas. Again, all these other faults, the Oceana Fault, the Santa Barbara faults down here, even over here to the Garlock, going over here into the Mojave Desert. That Garlock fault will also be activated, and we're going to have earthquakes all over this area, throughout this entire region, north to south. Going down here into Los Angeles. Los Angeles is going to probably feel a 7.0, maybe an 8.5 earthquake here. 8.5 to 7.5 earthquake here in Los Angeles as a result of the San Andreas Fault. Then the San Andreas Fault goes over here into the Imperial Valley. Somewhat of a long distance over to San Diego, but San Diego is also going to be affected, because all the other faults in Los Angeles are going to also be activated. The faults inside San Diego, California is also going to be activated. Promise it's going to happen. What are you going to do then? The San Andreas Fault also goes into northern Mexico, meaning some of the Cascadia energy could come in here to northern Mexico as well. One of the things that USGS is not telling everybody, one of the things USGS and agencies aren't telling everybody, guess what? This Cascadia energy is going to be carried across the entire North American plate. The energy is going to be carried across the entire North American plate, west-east. As I said before, Nobody knows how long it's going to take for that energy to diminish as it moves across the continent west-east. But right now, they are saying this. Folks here on the East Coast of North America, Canada, and the United States may feel large earthquake shaking. Large earthquake shaking, 5.0 to 5.9 shaking here on the East Coast of North America. When this earthquake hits, the earth is going to ring like a bell. The earth is going to ring like a bell. People coast to coast are going to be affected by this earthquake. Promise you. That's why we're talking about it right now. That is exactly why we're talking about it right now. Those of you who are in Europe, you may also see yourselves being affected by this earthquake. Like I said, the seismic energy is going to ring the earth like its bell, like a great big bell. The shockwave of this earthquake is going to travel north to Alaska and all the way down to northern Mexico at least. At least. The tsunami it generated is going to cross the Pacific Ocean, go to Japan again, and over to all the islands around the entire Pacific. It's going to go over to the Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, all the way across the oceans of the Pacific. All the way across the oceans of the Pacific, including Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, the Legacy Islands to the South New Caledonia region, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, all the way down to New Zealand. The last time we had a major earthquake over here at the Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, the tsunami generated by that earthquake, they said it was an 8.8 earthquake. We told you and showed you the information that was true. It was closer to a 9.4 earthquake. 9.4 major earthquake here. The rupture of the plate between the Pacific plate and the obtuse plate here. Full plate rupture here. Causing a tsunami. The race across the coast, raced across the ocean to Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and California, and Mexico, and Central America, and South America, to Hawaii, to the island nations down here, including Australia. That's going to happen again. That's going to happen again. Even over here in southeastern Australia, it will happen again. It's going to happen again. Why am I concerned? Why am I talking about it? Because right now, today, we have new important information that this earthquake is more likely to occur more sooner than later. More sooner or later. As I said before, the Japanese people in the year 1700 kept great records. They recorded the tsunami that hit here. We saw what happened after that earthquake in Kamchatka, Russia. We're going to see it happen again. All of this is proof that Cascadia's last rupture was found in archives of a nation on the other side of the ocean. I have seen the documentation detail. I've seen it. It still strikes me over time. I've been processing it for weeks now. It's striking to me, meaning that the next rupture of the plate won't stay local either. It will be a full plate rupture. When the last mega earthquake hit Japan in 2011, it was remarkable that Chris Goldfinger, again, that same person I told you about, back in 2023, from the Oregon State University system, he was in Japan in 2011 when that 9.0 earthquake hit in Japan. He had firsthand experience of what happened. He has, in fact, recorded information. He has a video out on YouTube telling all of us what happened in Japan and what's going to happen when it happens here on our own U.S. and Canada shores. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's going to happen. What makes the history of Cascadia particularly difficult to absorb is for the most of the 20th century, scientists didn't believe it could produce a megathrust earthquake at all. Prior to the 1980s, the working assumption among geophysicists and scientists was Cascadia was all too quiet. That's because very little agency evidence was leaked out. The USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have kept it quiet. They don't want people to know about it. That the lack of frequent small earthquakes meant the plates aren't building, but they are. They are. The plates are building and compounding on an annual basis for the past 326 years. 326 years. The plate is locked and loaded, just like the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded. The information that we are getting is important. We did not have, before 1980, did not have all the sophisticated seismographs and other seismic equipment that we now have. In the past 10 years, actually in the past 6 years, equipment was pre-positioned by Oregon State University. They put 55 seismographs on the ocean bottom to record earthquakes off the Oregon coast. Now we have additional seismographs being posted off the Washington coast now. All of these seismographs are reporting information that we don't have access to. All of the agencies have seismographs over on the ocean bottom, and none of us have access to them. None of us. That's a crying shame. None of us have that information at all. That's pretty sad. That's very sad. Only the agencies are going to have that. The agencies are not releasing that to emergency personnel. They're not releasing it to the cities or the counties, to the emergency operation centers that are planning for what happens when this earthquake hits. Before 1980, we didn't have any of this. The scientists and agents didn't even realize it was going to happen. Now, with all this equipment off the coast and on the coast as well, they know darn well that the Cascadia earthquake is going to happen again. 326 years past due. As I said before, a dangerous levels of stress have been building up and down the entire fault. It was not until researchers at Caltech compared Cascadia's rupture structure to the subduction zones in places like Chile, Coquimbo, Chile, that had an 8.8 earthquake back in the 1980s. Alaska had a 9.0 earthquake, 1963. An Anchorage earthquake just a few years ago, 2019. 7.0 earthquake. And of course, Japan's Nankai Trough, 2011. Now the enlarged seismic picture has changed. All the subduction zones worldwide have been known to produce megathrust earthquakes, magnitude 9.0 earthquakes at least, magnitude 9 events. Cascadia, the structure around the Cascadia fault zone is structurally significant, almost identical to Chile, Alaska, Japan's Nankai Trough, and over on the Chilean Trough as well. All these zones are known to produce magnitude 9 events. Cascadia looks structurally identical. The plates have been so tightly locked that even small adjustments couldn't happen until now. The stress has been accumulating without release. Any of the minor tremors that we've been seeing that I've been reporting to you are not releasing any of the accumulated stress at all. This realization is this. Years ago at the time, met with significant skepticism, but not now. Now that all this knowledge is the foundation of everything we know about Cascadia's hazard. The new study from 2026 this year has just added a new layer to that foundation that no one else has ever measured before. Here's where that research takes us. It takes a specific turn that I did not expect to happen. This changes the calculation for Portland specifically. And next week, I'm going to show you specifically what's going to happen around Seattle, Portland, Seattle, Tacoma area, and overall along the Vancouver area. Next week, I'm going to be talking about that. But what's happened now is I have specific information that Portland is going to want to know. They already probably have it. You don't have it because the agencies do not report it to you, the public. After going through all this research, the conclusion I keep returning to is this. What happened in Northern Oregon is not a local measurement story. It's absolutely not a local measurement story. However, it is a global methodology story. A global methodology story. The practical implications for Portland are immediate. The practical implications for Portland, even Seattle, are immediate now. It's going to happen now. Could happen tonight. Could happen tomorrow. It's going to happen. The Oregon Office of Emergency Management and the Federal Emergency Management Agency both use ground-shaking models to determine which buildings require seismic retrofitting and which do not. But I'm going to tell you right now, almost every building up and down the entire Pacific Northwest were built before retrofitting was even had. All those buildings, all the homes, all the businesses were built before earthquake retrofitting was even thought of. All of them. Many of these buildings were built in the early 1900s, and even some of them built in the late 1800s. 200 years ago. These buildings and homes are not structured with reinforced masonry to stand up to earthquake shaking. Which roads need to be prioritized for post-earthquake rupture assessment? All of them. All the roads need to be prioritized for post-earthquake rupture access. And then how many residents different earthquake zones are going to have to evacuate before the infrastructure fails? How many people are going to have to evacuate? How many families are going to have to evacuate before the infrastructure totally fails? I'm going to tell you right now, nearly all of them. Nearly all of them, guys. Every one of these earthquake models made by the Emergency Operations Office up and down from Canada or even Alaska south to Oregon, down into California. All of the emergency operations centers need to get together right now, almost immediately. And those emergency operations centers that I'm talking about, those operations center managers and personnel that may be listening to this earthquake message, need to get hot on this. You need to get hot on this. This earthquake could happen immediately. It could happen at any time. You need to be all over this. You need to reprioritize your agencies. You need to reprioritize your departments within your cities and states. Everything needs to be reevaluated now. The information we now have, knowing that the plate interface sits 5 kilometers, 3 miles shallower than previously assumed, and a sedimentary basin beneath Tylook, Oregon, is going to amplify the shaking in ways no current seismic plan even accounts for. Different seismic areas are going to be affected. What we have not talked about is liquefaction. When the earth shakes, any sandy or loamy areas are going to turn into quicksand. Any sandy or loamy areas are going to turn into quicksand. Promise you, I know this to be a fact. I've studied it. I had a shake table that I built. I've shown what happens when seismic energy hits buildings, homes, telephone poles, street signs, cars, people sink down into that quicksand. You need to account for this, guys. Everyone, all governments must be willing to accept this challenge to prepare for the inevitable shaking. It's going to happen. This recalculation is not a paperwork exercise. It's not a paperwork exercise at all. It's going to be the difference between an evacuation route that holds and an evacuation route that fails at the moment it is most needed. Two different situations. An evacuation route that holds, that is solid, where people can walk on, drive on, or ride on, or an evacuation route that fails. What evacuation routes do you know about? Are the evacuation signs, are the Cascadia tsunami signs up? Some are up, some are down. Up and down the entire coast. How do I know that? I've talked to people that live there. You need to make sure if you live along the coast that your city and towns put those tsunami warning signs up and the earthquake hazard signs back up. You're about to see a major earthquake that is going to take people's lives. What evacuation routes do you know about? Do you guys also know that you as families and individuals need to have an emergency preparedness plan? You need to write out your own emergency preparedness plan immediately and have your own evacuation routes planned. You need to have your own evacuation routes planned right now, immediately, so that you know what you're going to do when the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake hits. You need to know what you're going to do when the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake hits. The rupture scenario for Seattle does not look any of the ways that people thought it was going to happen. It's worse. In some ways, more complex set of consequences that are going to be different than we've ever planned for. I'm telling you right now, what we planned for back in 2016, in 2018, 2014, before that, the plans need to be trashed and re-gone over. Not trashed from the beginning, but go over them and reevaluate them and re-up them and make them solid. Make your plans solid, guys. As I alluded to earlier, the University of Washington received $10.6 million in 2023. 2023. They put more seismographs on the ocean bottom, just like the state of Oregon did with the University of Oregon several years earlier. University of Washington received a $10.6 million award to put more seismographs off the ocean, on the ocean floor off the coast of Oregon. We probably now have over 100 seismographs on the ocean floor off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Okay? Both universities are going to expand their underwater observatory. They're going to expand their underwater observatory. They're going to put more and more seismographs on the ocean floor to find out what's really happening with the Cascadia subduction zone. So far, none of us civilians have seen the data from those machines at all. The Oregon State machines were put on the ocean bottom years ago. None of us civilians have seen any data from those machines. They're not being shared. Now, I bet, and I've been told, that the data is astounding. The data from those machines is astounding and proves that the Cascadia earthquake is equipped to teach us all a lesson, whether we are ready for it or not. This summer, that expansion will add 4 more monitoring sites to the 2 used in the dynamic study published earlier this year in the Science of Advances. The data coming from that network over the next 2 to 3 years, if we even have that long, will likely force additional revisions to the current models. It's going to likely force many revisions to the current models that we have. Why? Because the more instruments we have on the ground that are operational on the seafloor, the more a better picture we will get of the Cascadia region as it changes. And it will change over that which we had even 20 years ago. The consequences of the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake could be very troublesome, to say the least. We have a huge learning gap, a gap in information, even from 5 years ago until now. I think we've addressed it tonight. However, we can't let our guard down at all. We know what happened in Japan in 2011 and the damage that we saw just recently from the 7.8 earthquake off northern Japan and the 9.4 earthquake off the Kamchatka Peninsula. We've seen the property damage. We've seen the loss of life. We're going to see more. Years ago, when we heard about the Java, Indonesia, the Bali earthquake, a 9.0 earthquake, and the subsequent tsunami that killed thousands upon thousands of people, it could happen again. Bali earthquake could happen again. That Indonesia area is the largest subduction area on Earth. The Indonesia area is the largest subduction area on Earth. Coupled with the Australian plate and the Pacific plate out to the east, including Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, and New Zealand. All that area, guys. It's going to happen again. The seismograph methodology used in Washington and Northern Oregon reveals comparable discrepancies. Have we learned anything from the earthquakes that have happened? Even the 6.5s and 6.9s have happened around Seattle, Washington in past years. Have we made ourselves safer in the Pacific Northwest? Some ways yes, some ways no. Some ways yes and some ways no. Since 2011, the 9.0 Tohoku earthquake of Japan demonstrated how severely previous models had underestimated the extent of the rupture. Now we've learned that we need to do the same thing. Reevaluate where we are at, make some changes very rapidly to be ready for the Cascadia MegaThrust earthquake. It's going to come. It will happen. Now, I promise you this, I'm going to continue to track this information, and I will report back to you any changes I find. Let's talk about for a minute the axial seamount off the coast of Oregon. Last night, on another comment section on YouTube, someone asked about the axial seamount volcano off the coast of Oregon. The axial seamount is a highly active underwater volcano located about 300 miles off the Oregon coast and a mile beneath the surface. It is predicted to erupt this year, 2026. The volcano is currently inflating, meaning it's rising. The earth is rising around the volcano, signaling imminent activity. It's going to happen. But it poses no threat to the coastline right now. It poses no threat to the coast, poses no threat of tsunamis right now, and no threat to residents at all. At all. The location is situated on the Juan de Fuca Fault, where the tectonic plates spread apart, causing frequent, predictable eruptions. Its most active underwater volcano the eruption occurred in 1998, 2011, and 2015. That volcano is being monitored in real time by Oregon State University and the USGS. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Does anybody have any questions for me? My buddy Don Patoga is back in charge here tonight. I shouldn't say in charge. He'd laugh at me when he hears me say that. My buddy Don Patoga is back here in the saddle here on our chat room. He's one of my valued friends and one of our moderators here on the chat. Does anybody have any questions for me? Canadian Patriot 1 is here from Eastern Canada. I talked to him on the phone just the other day. He said we all need to be prepared for anything. He's absolutely right. We need to be prepared for anything that's going to happen. This Cascadia earthquake is going to happen, guys. I promise you. Canadian Patriot 1 says, preparedness beats procrastination every day, every time. It's true. Lena is saying, EMA, give us a thumbs up. I agree. I talked about thumbs up at the beginning of this program. Please, before you leave today, please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this program today. I've talked a great deal about earthquakes. Now I'm probably into 2.5 hours being on the air. I'm sorry about that. Over 2 hours ago. I'm sorry about that. I had a lot of information for you. I relayed that to you. Does anybody have any questions for me? Canadian Patriot Dave, I care about you, brother. You're a great man. Canadian Patriot One has some health issues right now he's dealing with. You might want to pray for him as well. Pray for Rebecca. She's going through cancer. She had a surgery earlier last week. Earlier last week. Don Patoka, one of my dearest friends. Pray for him as well. Pray for Rob, 52. Pray for Renee. Pray for Hurricane Heather. We all need your prayers. We all need your prayers, guys. Prayer is a good thing. Don Patoga is saying here in the chat, being prepared is much more than just having a supply of stuff. Be in tune through prayer with Heavenly Father. Listen for the still small voice. The still small voice of guidance. As each of us are unique in circumstance, I promise you the Lord will talk to you through the still small voice. I promise you that. Now, guys, the time is far spent. There's little to delay here. I thank you for all being here. I appreciate you all being here. May God bless you. May God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. We'll be back here tomorrow afternoon, just after 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, with another episode of Emergency Management Associates, unless something else major happens, at which time we will be on the air as soon as the information becomes available. Till then, have a great night. Be safe out there. God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night. Take care, everybody. Much love. See you soon. Good night.
Here at Emergency Management Associates, we're dedicated and true, bringing you the essential knowledge, helping you see things through. From disaster preparedness to navigating recovery's embrace, we're here to guide you in every unpredictable time and place. We break down the complex, make it easy to grasp and absorb, sharing strategies for safety, the vital lessons you can't afford to hoard, So thank you for watching, and thank you so much for your sub. You're a key part of our growing family, a member of our knowledge club. With every like, every share, and every comment you send our way, our critical message spreads further, helping more people every single day. Together we're stronger and more prepared. That's the truth we all abide. You help us build resilience with nowhere for uncertainty to hide. Your engagement truly inspires us. Your feedback acts as a guiding light, helping us continually grow and making our channel's future bright. We're always learning, always striving to be better, bring you the most up-to-date information, no matter the weather. Emergency Management Associates is here for you now and forever, it's true. Keep watching, keep learning, because we truly appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here.